All right, Facebook. All right. So we're going live. It's my second live Facebook Live. I'm actually enjoying these. I'm going to wait a little while, see who comes online. I'm going to share a link with you in a little bit here. And again, I'll share the link right here. I got a nice little download for you guys if you want to download something today. But anyway, today we're going to talk about blocking objections. Again, I'm going to wait a little bit, see if we get some folks online. It's going to be fun. We're going to go through some stuff. And this is for people who want to know how to sell and reduce buyer resistance. My man Mark Patterson's on. Oh my God, I love Mark Patterson. Great singer, the whole bit. So we're going to talk a lot about how do you block objections, how do you reduce buyer resistance today. So again, I'm going to do my best this time because last time I didn't answer a lot of questions. I'll do my best this time to answer a lot of questions. And so we got Shauna, we got Sandra, we got Marcos. What's happening again? And so again, we're going to get into sales, right? Now, for those of you who are selling a product or a service, just try to comment in it. I'll keep up with the comments. If there's something you're trying to, let's say an objection you're trying to overcome, or, just trying to reduce that resistance from the buyer, let's have that dialogue today, okay? Because I want to walk you through a process that I use. And again, if you use it the right way, I'm telling you, you'll execute nicely. So very quickly, the question of the day, people always ask me, say, Victor, what are you currently reading? I like to read a lot of books. So the book I'm currently reading, just sharing right now. Now, I only recommend this for people who are in to B2B business sector. B2B, not B2C, B2B. So is this book by Mark Roberge called The Sales Acceleration Formula. Love this book. Love, love, love this book. I've marked this book up pretty bad. It's a great book. This is the gentleman that was one of the 4 people who started HubSpot and grew the business to $100 million. And he walks you through the sales acceleration formula. I love this book. We got Robert from Belize. Welcome, Robert. Marcos, what's up? Mona, good to see you. Thank you. So anyway, great book on B2B selling. And so today I want to cover one of my books. By the way, the question I often get is, Victor, do you have books? Yes, I have books. I just don't really promote them that hard. I should be better at promoting my books. So anyway, here's one book called The Logic of Success. This is one, it's like an autobiographical book on myself. I just released this one a little while ago. I love this book. If you're an Ogmandino fan, The Greatest Gift, I love this book. This is it's a fictional book. It's a very motivational book. I love that book. One of my favorite books that hardly gets any attention, but I think it's one of the cool ones. It's called The Sales Psycho. Yes, inside the mind of a serial seller. Yes, I wrote this one. This one has some cool graphics in there. I actually added, let me see if I can find one for you. Some great illustrations to show you. So basically, it's going inside an insane asylum and interviewing a sales psycho, right? That guy. And so he gives you the inside strategies to being successful in selling. And then there's Why the Squirrel Kept Winning, a motivational book. But aside from that, this is the book I want to talk to you about today. And I just posted a link, so you'll see it right here on the feed. And you're going to be able to download this book for free. It's called Response Block Selling. And basically, it's a new approach for lowering buyer resistance and a different way of selling. Now, let me go ahead and set this up. Amy, I love you. Please come back on TV. Thank you, Amy. I would love to come back. Please call Spike. By the way, the question I often get is Life or Debt coming back? They have neither canceled or renewed it. So where does that leave us? I don't know, in limbo. But Life or Debt is a great show. I think it was a fantastic show. I think it's better than the Kardashians personally. I think it was real TV. So if you saw Life or Debt, it's a great show. They should have renewed the show. But anyway, let's talk about objections. So if you're watching this, you're listening to this, one of the things we have a hard time doing is, pushing a client or nudging them forward to make a buying decision. And too often, there's a reason that's holding them back from buying from us. So whether you're selling a product or a service, there's something that's just holding them back. The question is, what is it? Now, sometimes you can get the reason, from the customer. Sometimes you can't. Now, let's go through some of the objections, right? Pricing. Is pricing always one? Of course it is. But let me tell you, in the end, it's never really about pricing. Different studies have shown this, that on average, 20, maybe 23% of the time, people will not buy on price. Let's say it's 20, 23, let's call it 25. That means 25%, 1 out of 4 people won't buy on price. But that means 3 out of 4 are looking beyond the price. So again, it's not really about price. So when people tell me, Victor, it's about the price, no, it's not. It's you fail to create enough value for them, right? And so what I want to do is kind of walk you through a process that I use to make my presentations that much better, to be that much more effective in selling. So here's the first step. The first step I want you to do is list out every objection that you can possibly imagine that your customer is going to give you. Now, let's go ahead and list them out. You know, price is one, so you're going to say price is one, right? Price is going to be one. What is another one? Let me think about it, right? I hate that one. That's pretty much a stall, but they'll say, let me think about it. What's another one? You guys feed in. Give me some ideas here. You know, one is we're currently using another product. We're currently using a competitor, right? Or we're currently using something in-house. Why buy your product, right? So in other words, I'm buying something in-house. That would be another objection. Some of my favorite, which is a stall. Now's not a good time. Now's not a good time, right? That's a nice one to write down. Now's not a good time. So what I want you to think about, this one says, I want to wait. They say it's not for them, it's for somebody else, right? That's another one. What? This is not for me, Victor. It's for somebody else, right? Or I'm happy with who I'm using right now. Thank you, Greg. Great one, right? They're very content with who you're using. Now, what I want to do is I want to explain the psychology of objections, because if you understand the psychology of what's going on in their brains, you can sell to people more effectively. Now, what I'm going to show you is something I typically show in my seminars, and I'm telling you right now, this is effective if you implement it the right way. Now, one is I'm already healthy, I eat yogurt, so I assume that's a food product. I'm already healthy, I don't need to use your product, right? That's almost like saying, I already use somebody else, I don't need you. Or I can do it myself, why do I need you, right? Gloria de Leon says, they'll say, but I'm on medications and I can't mix the supplements with my, RX. So again, that's a complicated one, because now you're getting into medication and mixing medications. I'll stay away from that one. But in typical objections, what you get is, you know, how can we position it in such a way that the customer goes, I get it, I understand. So here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about the psychology of objections. Studies have shown that if I verbalize an objection, listen to this because this is important. If I verbalize an objection, I'm less likely to change my mind. Isn't that interesting? If I verbalize an objection, I'm less likely to change my mind. Now, this is interesting because if you want to understand today's political climate, it ties into objections. Watch me make the bridge, right? When people say, I am a Democrat, they will look for information to confirm why they're a Democrat. If they say, I am a Republican out loud, they say it out loud, they will look for information to confirm why they should be a Republican or an independent. You get the idea. Once I verbalize something, once I put it out there, I am less likely to change my mind. Now, psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. I have to look for information that justifies my viewpoint. Let me say that again. If I say I'm this, I will look for information to justify my viewpoint. So if I say to you, again, I am a Republican, I will selectively look for information to justify why I'm a Republican. Why do you think Republicans watch Fox News? And why do you think Democrats watch CNN? Right? Because they're looking for information to justify their viewpoint. Because if you're a Democrat, you can't stand Fox News. Why? Because it doesn't line up with your philosophy. If you're a Republican, you can't stand CNN because, again, it doesn't line up. You have this cognitive dissonance, this pain that doesn't line up. Now, what does that have to do with objections? Now, what happens is a customer states, you're too expensive. We've all been in that situation where, you ever have that magical presentation where everything's going the right way? Do you know, he has a great presentation, everything's going the right way. And let's pretend you're talking to a couple, right? Now, this is one to a group or a couple, doesn't matter. And everything is going the right way, and all of a sudden, everybody's, they're both like this, or in the group, everybody's like, wow, okay, yes, this sounds great. I love this. Mentally, they're in. You can tell, they're like pigeons, They're in, they're buying. And then all of a sudden, one person says, yeah, but that sounds like it's too expensive. Now, at that very moment, that person has verbalized that it's too expensive. Now, because they verbalized it, they've taken a public position. Now, you have to convince them that you're not that expensive, right? So now you're on the defensive. And we know that if you're defending yourself, you're not winning the conversation. But here's what's also happening. The person said, you're too expensive. So that person has basically said, I'm not buying. the person who heard him, let's say the partner, the husband, the wife, now is thinking, yeah, well, my husband or wife said it was too expensive. Maybe they are too expensive. Maybe we just need to stop right now and we need to think about it. And boom, it kills your sale. If you're in a B2B scenario, right? You're selling some software as a service, right? You do a SaaS sale. And all of a sudden, you're in a room with 20 people and the presentation is going killer. I mean, the PowerPoint, boom, you're delivering it. You're delivering from the front of the room. You're answering questions just like everything is going your way. But then that one person says from the back, yeah, but you're too expensive. What happened again? That one person basically said, you're too expensive. They've taken a public position. Now you have to convince them that you're not. Now you're on the defensive. But also because that one person said it, now everybody else, the other 19 people in the room, are thinking, yeah, well, maybe, it is too expensive. Maybe we need to talk about this some more. Maybe we need to set up a committee to review this. In other words, we need to think about it. And boom, it kills your sale right there. So what do? I mean, you start defending yourself. Well, it depends on what you're looking at. But again, once you're defending yourself, you don't have, the pole position when it comes to doing a presentation. So one of the strategies I learned years ago that has worked beautifully, and what this book is based on, was many years ago, and I won't tell you what the company's name is or who the company was, but let me tell you the story because it's a great story and it's a true story. Years ago, 2006 to be specific, a company came up to me and says, hey, Victor, we want you to be a trainer for one of our software products. And I said, well, how does it work? He said, well, Victor, basically we fill people in a room and, we sell two products. We sell a $2,500 product and a $5,000 product, $2,500 and $5,000. And the way it works, Victor, is we spend a whole day with the people in the room and you will present this back office software that we have. And I was like, why me? He said, well, we like the way you present. So sure enough, I didn't believe, one of the questions I always have is, how much money do these guys make? And he told me how much money these trainers make. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And so what happened was I went and seen them do it live. And the day I went, let's just say there were 200 people in the room. Listen carefully, it's a great story. And what this changed my life in terms of presentation. Presentations. There were 200 people in the room. They're selling two products, $2,500 and $5,000 software package, right? At the end of the day, fast forward, they closed half the room. Yes, 100 people bought, and half of them more or less bought the $2,500 package, and the other half bought the $5,000 package. It was like almost $200,000 in sales. And my first question was, well, how much did the trainer just make? And when they told me how much the trainer made, I'm like, I'm in. Let's do this, right? Let's do this. So they gave me a script that was about maybe that thick, right? And the slides, and I had to learn how to use the software and do the presentation. So I remember I went to Jackson, Mississippi to do my first presentation, do the presentation. We closed about 17% of the room, I think was the number, 17% of the room. Now, I was happy because I thought that was a good close rate. They're like, no, the minimum is 33%. Victor, you have to close 33% of the room. And so for the next 2 months, and this is just a time frame that I'm guessing at, it was around that time that I just struggled. I couldn't close 33% of the room. I couldn't get 33% to buy. So if you had 100 people in the room, I couldn't get 33 people to buy from the front of the room as I was doing the presentation, right? When I got to the pricing, they weren't buying. I mean, I'd get to 18, 20, maybe 22, 23, 25 maybe, but I never got close to 33. Then what they did is they sent somebody down to review what I did. This gentleman came down and he said, Victor, let me watch what you're doing. And this guy was the guru, the pro himself, right? He said, let me watch what you're doing to see mechanically what you're doing wrong. And that's when he watched me for the first hour and a half. And within the first hour and a half, he was able to diagnose what I was doing wrong. And he said, Victor, he said, here's where you're missing out. And listen carefully because this is the important part of the story. He said, Victor, when you're presenting, whether it's 1-on-2 or 1 to a big group, he says, there are reasons why they don't want to buy. Think about it. He says, there are reasons why they don't want to buy, but they're not going to say them, right? Because if they say them, then you'll know what they are and you can probably deal with them. But in many cases, they will not state the objection. And I thought that was interesting. I said, what do you mean they won't state the objection? Well, some people don't want to admit, one, for example, that they can't afford it. Or maybe as they're looking at the software, they're thinking it's too technical, maybe I can't use it. But they don't want to say it. So your job is to block the objection while it's still in their head. And I said, what? Block the objection while they're still in their head. In other words, you have to response block them, which is where response block selling came from. So what I did over the next, and again, this part I'm guessing at, for the next 2 or 3 months, I figured out a strategy for how to block a buyer's response. In other words, your buyers sometimes have reasons why they don't want to buy, but they don't want to tell you. They're ashamed to tell you, they don't want to tell you, they just don't trust enough to share it, so they just don't want to share it. But you know that when you leave that presentation or that one-on-two conversation in that house, they're going to have that conversation about why they're not going to buy. And so what I want to show you today, in this short time that we have, is how do you block an objection? You know what I mean? How do you block something like that? Okay, I got a question here from Thomas. Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry you don't believe in the value of my product yet. May I please continue explaining the value of my product service? Got it. And so, and I'll get to that. So what happens was you want to block the objection inside the person's head. Again, let me restate this for clarity. You're talking one to a couple or a group. You know that there's reasons they're not going to buy, but you also know they're not going to admit them out loud. So what do you want to do? You almost want to block the objection, response block the objection while it's still in their head, even though you know they're not going to say it out loud. Again, one of them is, obviously, they can't afford it. Now, they think they can't afford it. Maybe they can afford it, but in their minds, they don't believe they can't afford it. Again, so what is our job? Do we wait for them to say, I can't afford it? Well, if you do that, now you're defending yourself. But what if you can block it in their head and show them that you can afford it? There is enough value that I can show you you can afford it. And so what I created was, it's called a response block structure. And I'm going to walk you through the structure. And again, there's a link right there. You can actually download the actual book for free. Okay? So the way the response block structure works is the following. Step number 1 is I want you to list out 3 to 5, at most 7 is what you're going to come up with. But typically 3 to 5 objections your customer typically has for not buying your product. So take a moment and think about that right now. 3 to 5 typical objections of why they're not going to buy. 3 to 5 typical objections, right? Just go ahead and list them out, or at least think about them, right? That's step 1 in developing a nice presentation pitch. Now, how are we going to block them? It's a simple 4-step process. I don't want to wait for them to raise the objection because now I have to defend it. I don't want to do that. So what I'll do is I will raise the objection myself. So step number 1 in the blocking structure, how to block an objection, is that you raise the objection. Because if you raise the objection, you control the conversation. So that's the beautiful part. But it's also very easy to do. So step number 1 is you're going to raise the objection. Step number 2, you're going to offer to resolve that objection. Step number 3 is you're going to demo something, show them something. And then step number 4 is you're going to tie down that objection. Now, all this is included in the book. In fact, if you go to page, if you've downloaded it already, because you're efficient, if you go to page 44 and 45, you'll see that I've listed, I believe, 22. Yes, I came up with 22 typical objections that you're going to get. Let me make sure I got the right number here. Nope, not 22, 19. And what I've done is, let me just show you something here. I've created the actual scripts. So you'll be able to use the actual scripts that I've actually included here. So for example, let me get the right lighting here. Raise the objection. Again, raise it, offer to resolve it, demo something, and then tie it down. And then over here, you can use your own wording. So I'll give you a little worksheet that you can use there. So what I want to do is highlight 2 or 3 that I've highlighted here. And again, you can download the book, you know what I mean? And you can kind of go through this yourself. And then we'll have a little discussion. So I'm going to go another 10 minutes on this, and then I'll open the table here for discussions and questions. Okay, guys? Now, and again, great comments coming through, so love you guys, man. Keep it coming. But again, in about 10 minutes at 7:30, I'll stop what I'm presenting here, and then I'll answer questions, and then we'll see how long that goes, and then we'll call it a night, okay? Now, one of the objections, again, just for you guys, I put in there, your price is too high. Now, again, there's variations, right? You're too expensive. Like, why does your product cost more than others? That's a variation. Your competitor sells it for X% less. Why is yours more expensive? Your prices seem really high, right? Or this one, that's more than I expected to pay. Okay, there's different ways of saying it, right? But bottom line is, if you go to page 50, I handle in several ways your price is too high. Let me go ahead and read it for you real quick. First of all, here's what I would say. Now, again, the goal here is to raise the objection that's in the customer's brain because you want to control the conversation. So you're going to say something like this. Many of my clients will tell me that our prices are higher than our competitors' prices. And I understand, right? I just raised the objection. I brought up the issue that many of my clients think that our pricing is more expensive than our competitors. And I understand that. Notice, I'm never disagreeing with people. I'm always agreeing with them. Now I'm going to offer to resolve. But if I can show you that when you compare the offers, you do an apples to apple, point to point basis, you'll agree that our price is more than reasonable. Can I show you one or two things? Now, as soon as I say, can I show you one or two things after making that comment, the majority of people are going to say, okay, well, show me. Prove it to me. That's when you demo something. So you can do a side-by-side comparison of what your product has, right? You can do a features comparison, or you can do a value-added comparison. Here's what we have that they don't offer. Here's also what you're not seeing. Here's also what we're using in terms of material. When you look at the software, here's something that's included that most people don't offer, and we do. So when you do some type of demo, some type of comparison, right? Now the customer is going, okay. Then you say, we also have this, we also have that. Our competitor doesn't offer that. We do this. We do it this way. Here's why it's different. Here's what we add to it. Now, if you've proven your case in the demo, now here's the key part. You have to tie down the objection. Let me say that slowly. You have to tie down, not the sale. You have to tie down the objection. And here's how you tie down the objection. You've just gone through the demo. Then you say something like this, Mr. Prospect, based on what I've shown you, can you now see how we're not only cheaper in the long run, but we can also help you save more money with our product? Does that make sense? And then you wait for them to say yes, right? Or nod, give you some type of agreement. If the person says, yes, I can see it, Victor, I can see why it's cheaper. Now, if they say that, you've just tied down that objection. Now go back to what I said earlier, that once I verbalize something, I am going to stick to that position. This is important. Once I say something out loud, I'm going to stick to that position. If I can get the person to verbally say, yes, I can see that you are not only cheaper, but you're also better in terms of value. If I can get them to say that, there's no way that if I get to the end of the sale, they're going to come back and say, when I try to close them, they're going to say, yeah, but you're too expensive. See, I already closed. I already tied down that objection. So it won't come back to bite me in the ass at the end when I try to close the deal. Do you see how it works? So literally using this four-step process, it's a very simple process. Raise the objection, offer to resolve it, demo something, and then tie down that objection. Now think about it. If you're talking to a customer, you typically have 3 to 5 objections that they typically have. Now, what if you're able to weave these response blocks throughout your presentation? What you're going to see is their resistance goes down like this as you block them. But here's something that happens subconsciously. Because I raised the objection, because I raised it, and you're like, wow, I'm glad Victor raised the objection about, pricing, because I was really concerned about that. The fact that I raised that, I come across as an honest salesperson. Because the prospect's thinking, I'm glad he brought it up. Oh, my, wow, he actually brought it up. Because when we're bringing up the issues, we're dealing with it. We're being transparent. See, selling doesn't have to be, and it should never be, about trying to trick your customer. Let's be transparent. If we're more expensive, say, yes, we're more expensive. But let me explain to you why. I mean, that's another way of dealing with it. I use that all the time. People say, Victor, your sales training is too expensive. I understand, and I agree. I said, but in order to understand why it costs so much, can I show you one or two things? And they'll say, what are you going to show me, Victor? Well, let me show you what results we've seen with other customers. And then let's look at cost. So are you concerned about price or cost? Because right now, it's costing you a lot of money not to learn how to sell. Something like that. And now show them something based on what I've shown you. Can you now see how what I'm charging is a small investment compared to all the upside you're going to get? They go, okay, Victor, I can see it. Boom. Objection is locked down. Get the idea? Shall we do another one? Got a couple of minutes. Let's do another one. How about this one? We're already using a competitor's product. Love that one, right? We're already using a competitor's product. Here's some variations. By the way, this is on page 72. For those of you who arrived late, there's a link right there on the side here, and you can just click that and download that book. Now, how about this? Variations. We're already using a competitor's product. We already use someone else's, or we do that with another company. We're satisfied with our current vendor. I love that one. I'm satisfied with our current vendor. I'm satisfied with what I'm using. A new supplier means more training. We're happy with our current supplier. I need to diversify. How do I do business? I don't need to diversify. Rather, I really don't need another vendor, Victor. I just don't want to. I'm already happy with what I got. So these are variations of we're already using somebody else's product. Now, one of the things I do, one of the quick flips that I have when people say, look, Victor, I'm happy with my current supplier. Write this line down. I'm going to give you a magical line. And I call it a magical line because it is magical. One of the things you can do that is kind of a response block, but it's a very good line, is when somebody says, I'm happy with my current supplier, I always ask the prospect this question. Mr. Customer, I understand that you're happy with the current supplier. I get that. But let me ask you a question. In business, isn't it always good to have options? What do you think they always say? Yes. I said, well, consider us an option. I want to show you what we have to offer, that if one day you need us, we're right there for you. Can I continue? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to go ahead, Victor. What a nice little flip, right? Very polite, because nobody's going to say no to that question. Only an idiot would say no to that. If they say, I'm happy with my current suppliers, in business, isn't it good to have options? Now, if somebody says, no, it's never good to have options, just walk out the door. Just call them an idiot and walk out the door. That was a joke. Don't do that, right? All right, so how would you block? We're already using a competitor's product. Very similar to what I've just mentioned. I would say something like this. Again, I don't want them to say it out loud. I don't want them to verbalize it. So what I want to do is I want to block it. So how do I block it? I raise the objection. So, Mr. Customer, you may already be using a product or service from another supplier that is similar to ours. I raise the objection. I now control it. Many of my clients started out using our competitor's product as well until we showed them what they weren't getting. Can I assume you would consider our product if I can show you how you can get more for your money? Oh, that's beautiful. Again, I'm asking questions that I know they're going to say yes, Victor, to. And then I'm going to show them how our product is better than the competitor's product. And I'm going to walk them through a sequence, and then I'll say something like this. I'm going to tie down the objection. Mr. Buyer, as you can see, our product has a lot of additional features you're currently not getting. Would you agree? And again, if you've done it right, they'll go, yes, Victor, I get it. I get that. You tie down that objection. You keep the sale moving forward. Who knows? Maybe you can even close it right there if it feels good. So again, there's 19 different response blocks in here that you can use. And again, the one thing I always have to remind people of, salespeople, listen carefully. Never, never, ever, never, ever, never raise an objection that isn't there. In other words, never raise an objection that doesn't usually come up. So again, I just have to highlight that because I have people who want to raise objections that aren't there. Look, after so many presentations or one-on-one conversations, you know what they're thinking. You know what objections are in their heads. Those are the ones that you have to block. Using this strategy, you'll be able to block the objections, and you're going to feel the resistance go down, and you're going to feel better about your presentation. And again, this is about being transparent. Raising the objection is basically in your face, saying, look, let's be honest here. Here's what you're concerned about. Let's talk about it. Because if you don't raise the objection, listen carefully again. If you don't raise the objection, and I've had people walk out of the room going, man, I'm glad they didn't mention this. I'm glad they didn't mention that. No, if you're celebrating because of that, you're an idiot. Yep, you're an idiot. Here's why. Because if you're a salesperson and you didn't raise an objection you know they have in their heads and you're happy about it, you're an idiot. Here's why. As soon as you leave, they're going to have a conversation amongst themselves. And they're going to go, I like Victor. He's great. I love the presentation. But he never talked about this issue. He never, talked about that specific detail. And, so right now, I'm not sure about what we want to do. In other words, because you didn't deal with the beast. They're not talking about it without you in the room. and that's never a good thing. So again, I'm excited about this, and I've used this, and I'm telling you, this works in presentations. Again, B2B, it's absolutely fantastic, but you can apply it to B2C. By raising the objection, you take control of the conversation, but also, again, you raise the objection, it gives the customer, like, you know, that comfort factor, that trust factor, because you're willing to answer those questions. You're willing to deal with those issues. So I'm going to leave it open for questions. Now you can scroll the questions if you have. God, you guys put a lot of stuff on here. The tough part about doing these Facebook Lives is stuff scrolls by very quickly. All right. If you already know your most common objections also, if you've done your due diligence, you know what the prospect's probable concerns are. That's Richard Trevino. You're so on the money, Richard. Can't even add anything to that because that was so well said. Looking forward to reading it, Sandra. Read it. It's a great read. And I'm telling you, it's not that hard to implement. It just takes some discipline. You have to be in control with the obvious control. Jonathan Bianco. Dude, you know what? Yeah, it's like you want to take control, but let them know they're in control, or let them think they're in control. Greg Papoff, thanks for the book. Victor, you're always paying it forward, man. Make the sale, make the money, do your thing, man, okay? All right, let me see what else. Book name again is Response Block Selling. There should be a link in this feed right here, right? And so look for the link, click on it, download it. How are you different than Grant Cardone? I like Grant Cardone. We're doing an event next month. Thank you for bringing that up. You know, how are we different? I think there's a lot of overlap. Grant Cardone came from the B2C industry. I came from the B2B industry. But he's done B2B and I've done B2C. So if you can draw a Venn diagram, you know, you'll like his stuff. In fact, let me see if I can find some of his stuff. Here. I read everybody. Look, read that. The Grant Cardone Rebuttal Manual. Great one. If you're in B2C, a great manual. Pick this one up. I mean, this is nice stuff. I try to read. I'm always asked, you know, who's the best salesperson this time? I don't care. You can choose. I always think about it this way. Who's your favorite artist? And if I look at your phone right now, do you have just one artist on your phone? No, you have several artists, right? Everybody has a different flavor. That's all selling is. You know, it's who you want to listen to, who resonates with you, and whose style is very similar to yours. But I love his content. We're doing a 3-day boot camp together, Grant and I, next month. By the way, if you go to grantcardonebootcamp.com, and there's not that many seats left. 3 days. 3 days with Grant Cardone and myself and his man, Jared Glantz as well. Dude, it's going to be awesome. Thank you, Gloria. Your video really helped me through my career. Michael, thank you very much. Ed Rivera, I read it. It's an awesome book and highly recommend it. By the way, ClickFunnels free. Shipping is an awesome strategy. Thank you, man. Marcos, cold calling objections, not in person. What would be your opening? Cold calling, not in person. Via phone? Give me some more specific on that. Les Hill, by the way, Les Hill, you want to talk about a beast of a salesperson? Les Hill is a beast of a salesperson. I've worked with him. He's an animal. He's an animal. I love him, man. I'll be there to see you there. Greg Munoz, you're going to be there. George Munoz. George, it's the best investment you've made, man. I'm telling you, it's 3 days. We've stripped out all the fluff. So it's a lot of tactical stuff that you're going to be able to use, okay? And so, like I said, we're going to integrate a lot of good stuff. I was there 2 days ago with Jared, and we went over the manual. We're going to add some more stuff, but we're going to really give it some meaty stuff, so we're going to make it worth your while. You'll get your money back like that. So, again, it's expensive, but only in your brain. Again, I think it's 2-3 days. I think it's like $4,500, and I think if after July 1st, it goes up to $6,000 for the 3 days. So it's a great investment. Samir, it's one of the most efficient strategies to handle objections. I started using it after watching your videos and blocking objections. Thank you, my friend. I would highly recommend to the salespeople to go out and try it. Thank you very much. Crystal, hi, Victor. Hey, Crystal. Paul D, you're welcome on the clarity. Let me see. Marcos Rivera, you said yes. Was that on cold calling directly? So on the cold call, okay, we'll do cold call another time. When you're cold calling, you typically have about 10 to 15 seconds. And by the way, I wrote a book called Cold Calling Success. I don't have it with me, but I wrote that book, Marcos. And maybe I'll send you a free copy of that and just let you read that. But basically, within 10 to 15 minutes, man, you have to basically tell them who you are, what's the intent, and you got to find a way to grab their attention. Or Grant likes, I always say, you got to set the hook, which I agree with. You know, you got to find something that makes them go, huh? What is that? and they'll listen. So again, depending on your product, and that's what we're going to do, by the way, at the boot camp. One of the things we're going to do there is really help you with your script. So George Munoz, we're going to be there. We're going to actually do a lot of script writing, really walking through what you need to say, especially when you do prospecting and cold calling. So it's going to be a good day. Richard Trevino, what do you recommend to learn how to cold call on the phone better? Come to the workshop, Kelly Smith. That's probably the best way of doing it. Because, Kelly, and I don't mean to be flippant with the answer, but like anything else, is that cold calling is really about how do you write the scripts out for what specific product, what piece of insight can you give the customer, and what can you say that makes them want to go, let me listen to you. You get the 15 seconds, and what we're trying to buy is the next 2 or 3 minutes to add more value. And it's what do you say, what do you do, and those things have to be written out and worked through. Gloria, we love you, Victor. Thank you very much. I was at the GrowthCon, man. You blew it up. Thank you, man. George, my presentation died, but I still pulled it off, man. It was good. It was good, man. We'll get that cold calling success. Yes, cold calling success. I'll send you guys the book. I'll post it. Maybe that'll be the next topic, the next Facebook Live. So we can do that. Like I said, I know I did the response block very quickly, but if you search on YouTube, for those of you who are not signed up to my YouTube channel, it's the Sales Influence channel. I have a video there. There's a video that I recorded about a few years back. It's about 45 minutes, and it really gets into it and really gets into more of the psychology of it and gives you more deeper examples of things you can use with pricing. So again, I just barely touched on the subject today. That is my problem, trying to hook them and finishing the deal, Sandra Galindo. I hear you. Sandra, GrantCardoneBootcamp.com. Come on down. Trust me. The investment will be worth it. Only 100 people in the room. See, that's what's nice about this program. It's a little more expensive, but again, the price, you'll get the money back. But 3 people, Grant, myself, and Jared, right? 100 people for 3 days. That's 100 people in 3 days, which means you'll be able to get the attention you deserve so we can walk through some of the scripts. That's what a lot of people are asking for. So again, we're going to be light on the fluff and heavy on the drilling down, getting into the content. So go to GrantCardoneBootcamp.com. All right. I want to get a contact center for a bank, taking inbound customer service call. We do sales by bringing up product based on what we see. This is Lance. Lance, I'm reading your stuff, but it's not scrolling up for some reason. But have someone to get it set it up. It's difficult to close when I cannot set up the product personally for them. Any suggestions? Product based on what we see on their accounts, and of course solving problems right away. I'd have to sit down with you, Lance. That's a little more involved than I care to get into in this one. But if you're doing stuff over the phone, they're coming in, you're taking the inbound call. We do the sales by bringing up products based on what we see on their accounts, and of course solving problems brought up. But also keep in mind, Lance, that again, there's reasons why they're not buying, but there's unstated concerns that they may have about buying a new product. And so your goal, your job is to really try to work them through that presentation process where you're trying to get them to see why they should move over. And sometimes you need to create a sense of urgency. Sometimes you need to generate enough pain for them to actually make a buying decision. So again, that's a little more involved that we can do here, but hopefully that gives you some idea. If they don't feel the pain or the sense of urgency is one thing. Now think of that, then add the pain. Then they're willing to move over. And are you showing that? Are you walking through the process? And again, remember the brain, Lance, if there's only a small difference in improvement, if you can only help me a little bit, the brain's going to say, it's not a big enough gain for me to move over. And they'll perceive too much effort and will not move over. So again, great question, but a longer topic. Where is it at? Sandra, it's in Miami, Florida. It's a beautiful hotel, the Turnberry Hotel, I think it is. Who's more important when handling objections that involve multiple departments in B2B? For example, if a hiring manager needs HR's approval to use recruiter, but HR doesn't understand the value of the recruiter, but the manager does. Paul, when you're dealing with multiple buyers, it's always about getting buy-in. If you can't get all the people in the room, then your job is to do this, what I call a second order sale. And this is where it gets complex in a B2B scenario, is that sometimes, and I'll use purchasing, I'll use managers and purchasing, because managers look at the value of the actual product. Purchasing just looks at the dollar, the bottom line. And it's our job as salespeople to stress to the manager the value so that they can turn around and then sell that value down to purchasing, because purchasing is just going to focus on money. But if they get an influencer, a manager who says, no, I know it costs more, but we need that, here are the reasons, then that'll work. So usually when you can actually leverage the influencer, the manager, that person can turn around and leverage whoever holds the checkbook. Again, longer conversation. I've seen all the videos, Victor, 800 plus sales video on the YouTube channel. They're great and highly recommended. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate you watching them. By the way, if you haven't signed up for my Sales Influence podcast, you should. It's a really good podcast. We're keeping everything to 10 minutes. In the podcast, I try to answer simple questions. So if you're on iTunes, go to Sales Influence. If you have a Droid, go to, I think, Google Play, and Stitcher has the actual podcast for you. So again, keep in mind that in any presentation you do, you have to learn how to block an objection. Now, let me just go off on a small tangent, but not a big one. If you're looking for a job, listen, if you're looking for a job, this strategy works. Put yourself in the hiring manager's position. They're looking at you and they're saying they have reasons why they don't want to hire you. Well, maybe they're not going to tell you the reasons why they don't want to hire you, but what if you can block them? For example, let's say that one of the reasons they don't want to hire you is because they don't think you have enough industry experience. Now, sometimes they're not going to say that. They're just going to ask you, how many years of industry experience do you have? You'll say, well, I have 3 years of industry experience. They'll say, okay, great. Now, they'll say, great, write it down. But in their mind, they're going, that's not enough. That's not enough. Now, are they going to tell you that's not enough? No, they're not going to tell you. But you know if you're smart enough, you know that it's not enough. So how do you do it? How do you get over this? You block the objection. Before the interviewer brings it up, here's what you say. Mr. Interviewer, one of the things you're going to notice right off the bat is that I have 3 years of industry experience. Now, you may be thinking that that's not enough. But if I can show you 1 or 2 things to show you that that is enough, and I've done a lot in those 3 years, would you consider my industry experience sufficient? He says, well, what are you going to show me? Well, let me talk about the 2 companies I've worked with. Even though I've only had 3 years, here are the projects I've worked on. And as you can see, and if you list out the projects, this is a wide range of projects within those 3 years. Based on what I've shown you, can you now see that even though I only have 3 years of experience, I have a wide breadth of experience in this market? And you're hoping that the interviewer goes, yeah, I can see that. Boom, you just tied down that objection. See what I mean? Again, just think about it. Always put yourself in their position. What are they thinking about? Why don't they want to hire you? You can use this in almost any scenario to blocking objections. If you're married and your wife doesn't like to go out on dinners on Fridays, can you block that objection? Yeah, you can. You say, sweetie, look, I know you don't like to go out to dinners on Friday because you're thinking that everything's going to be too crowded. And I get that, right? Raise the objection off. Now you offer to resolve it. But if I can show you 1 or 2 restaurants that I know will not be crowded on Friday, would you be open to it? Well, which ones? Then you show her 2 or 3 restaurants. See? Da-da-da. They're never crowded. Which one of these best suits your needs? Which one of these do you think you like to go with? I'm joking, but you get the idea. By raising the objection, you always control the conversation. Thanks for the knowledge, Jonathan. You're very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate sitting down with you on this would be awesome. Lance, I'm telling you, I will blow your mind. I would make, because, when you're doing these inbound calls, Lance, there's several reasons, depending on what products you're offering. If you're a financial institution, a bank, or whatever, you're offering different products, and each of those products carry a certain amount of risk. And our job during those calls, Lance, is to really mitigate the risk. I think that's the key phrase. We need to, 1, show them that there is a gain by moving over, but also balance that with mitigating the risk. In other words, making them feel safe. Look, I can make sales complicated or simple. I like simple, and people are afraid to take chances. Our job as salespeople is to say, look, it's safe. It's okay to come into the water, right? It's okay to buy this product. This product is really going to help you, and you have to really believe that the product is going to help them or the service. And if you can do that and find a way to communicate that, that's perfect. And I'm telling you, one of the most powerful ways of doing it is by blocking objection, raising objections that you know already exist in the customer's head. If you can do that, then you'll be more effective. Let me see, Paul D. Yep, appreciate that. Gonna check it out. Check it out. And like I said, I'll post the, maybe the next one will be cold calling. What do you think? Should I do the next one on cold calling? Because the first one we did was how to sell. The second one here is blocking objections. One of the things I like to talk about is handling and overcoming objection, because once it's stated, how do you deal with it, right? And so I want to do that. Maybe I should do that one. I'm going to write that down as a note to myself. Let's do handling objections as the next one, or cold calling. So I'll wait for you guys to vote on here, and then we'll decide which one we'll do. How's that? And so we'll do one of those too. But again, I love sales. I think selling is a great profession, and I think it is a noble profession. I think if you're honest with people and you sell people good stuff, Marco's put the link on cold calling success right there. So all you have to do is download it. See, the power of the internet. You can find stuff yourself. Please do one on cold calling. Kelly, I think I'm going to go cold calling on the next one, right? Because cold calling is one of those things where, you know, I don't know what the numbers are, but I think, I don't know, it's like 87% of the people said they like to cold call. 87. If I remember the number right, 87% of people said, oh, they hate cold calling, rather. 87% of people say they hate cold calling. 13% said yes, they love cold calling. There's something wrong with those 13%, right? Who loves cold calling, right? Nobody. I don't like cold calling, but we do the things we have to do. We force ourselves to do the things we have to do. So anybody who says, I love cold calling, I really love calling strangers, I really love interrupting people, I really love getting rejected, I really love being hung up on, you're insane. But having said that, if you just accept the fact that cold calling is not about you, it's not personal, you know, it's just a matter of trying to really sell your service or your product. If you really believe in your product or service, again, putting up with the rejection, that's the easy part. Just don't take it personally. Separate yourself from the product or service. Remember, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the product or service or the idea or the timing. That's all they're doing. And our job is to try to get their attention, find a way to set the hook, get them to talk to us, and then show them the value. Because if your product or service really has value, then listen again to my favorite line. You have a fiduciary duty to share that product or service. In other words, you need to share that product or service with people. So it's almost like you want to grab them by the scruff of the neck and listen, this product is really good. It's going to help you. It's going to help you grow your business. Listen to me. You know what I mean? It's almost like what you want to say, right? What else? Cold calling would be awesome. Handling performance guarantees or client expectations. Performance guarantees or, I guess, or client expectations. I think you mean Brianna, like managing client expectations. That would be an interesting topic. Yeah. Richard Williams, since listening to your podcast, just scrolled past, so I assume it was something about the podcast. But by the way, the Sales Influence podcast, again, I don't mean to harp on that, but it really is a great podcast because, you know, I don't keep them I don't do 30, 40, 50 minutes. I don't do interviews with people. It's 10 minutes on average. Here's the problem. Here's how you want to handle it. Here's how you can apply it to your business every day. So Sales Influence Podcast, sign up. And so again, we got about 10 more minutes. I can hang out or I can just leave and just go enjoy a beer, right? Not a beer. Yeah, I'm a beer. Yeah, how about a Stella Artois? I think that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, so we'll do that one. Jehovah's Witnesses have been cold calling down to an art. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses have a cold calling down to an art. Yes, they do. They have door knocking down to an art. Yeah, they're persistent. They don't stop. They just keep going. So again, recap, download the book. If you came in late, my book recommendation for this podcast is The Sales Acceleration Formula by Mark Roberge. And so again, that's a great book. I'll be doing go to grantcardonebootcamp.com and, you know, hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll get you a copy of this when we get down there or some of your PDF or something. So for those of you who show up, we'll try to have some goodies for you. So again, grantcardonebootcamp.com, 3-day sales training. Grant and I and Jared, his VP, are going to be giving you guys great information. We're going to walk you through 3 days. And again, we're going to minimize the PowerPoints and really focus on tactical, day-to-day, here's what you need to do. So I think on the first day, we're going to talk about setting up your sales process. Once you set up your sales process, looking at your target market, once you look at your target market, you know, let's build out the sales presentation process. We're going to talk about prospecting. We're going to talk about hiring the right people, right? We're going to talk about cold calling, handling objections, blocking objections, everything from A to Z. You know, we got 10 topics to cover because it's a 10X program. So 10 topics to cover. Again, grantcardonebootcamp.com. I think last time I checked their website, there's only 7 seats left. And again, your return on investment it's guaranteed. You know, again, it's going to be good. One about body language. Richard Williams, I like body language. I have a great program on there. By the way, I'm excited also. We're moving all our training programs over to the Lightspeed VT system. We'll be launching that in July, which means all my programs, I got 21 training programs, will now be available on a learning management system. So you'll be able to kind of walk through the programs and actually take tests. Yes, I have tests and quizzes in there, and actually gauge your performance. So it's going to be great. I would like to hear a closing after seeing positive response to your presentation. I would like to hear a closing after seeing positive response to your presentation. I would like to hear a closing. Marcos, help me out with that one. You mean, how do I close? See a positive response to your presentation. Hear a closing after. I don't know what that means. I saw your college picture today. You look the same today, minus the hair, of course. Success looks good. Thank you. I had curly hair back then, man. It was pretty cool. Actually, JWs are missing out seriously on their approach. They could do better if they just changed a couple of things. JWs. Okay, why am I missing? Why do I not know what JWs are? Thank you, and we'll definitely start looking at your YouTube videos, and that is Sandra Galindo's. Actually, JWs. I don't know. Help me out with that, Kelly. I don't know what that means. And so maybe I'm just like slow right now, but maybe because it's the evening time. But yeah, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. So anyway, cool. All right. Anything else, folks? Any questions? We're going to chime out of here earlier. And the other thing I wanted to recommend, and like I said, if you've not read, if I could just plug this one also, The Greatest Gift, it's a motivational book. It's about success. And if you find yourself in a space where, I don't know, you feel like you're not motivated, you're not doing what you want to do in life, this is really a great book. Oh, JW was Jehovah's Witness. Okay, I'm missing out seriously on their approach. They could do better if they just changed a couple of things. Yes, they could. But let's leave the Jehovah's Witness alone, right? Let's leave them alone. You got to give them A for effort. Or is that an E for effort, right? Because they're just like, they're just coming after you all the time. Let me make sure I got everything in. Oh, one of the things I forgot. How could I forget this? I know I should look down my notes more. By the way, when you're demoing something, right? Remember the response block structure? The response block structure is, again, raise the objection, offer to resolve it, then demo something, right? And then based on whatever you demo, you tie down the objection. On the demo piece, there's several things you can use. For example, maybe you can use a study. You found a study, show them the study. Maybe there's a testimonial. That's another thing you can demo. Maybe you just want to do a drawing. You know, you just, let me walk you through this and do a drawing and just to show them what it is, right? If you're in, you know, for my Plexus peeps out there, right? One of the things people like to see on the demo phase is a before and after. Here's what I was before, here's how I am now. Before and after is always a great thing to show during the demo phase. If you've helped a company's revenues grow, show the before, show the after. Pictures are always good. You know, sometimes you need to show a picture of something. I work with Orkin, you know, the pest control company, Rollins. And one of the things, you know, we've integrated into the presentation is using pictures of where there's damage. For example, termite damage, and there's nothing like seeing something visual to really freak you out. And that's a good way of demoing why they need to do something. Data is another good thing to demo. Show them some data, or maybe show them some charts. So again, there's a lot of things you can do to actually show them. So I got some Plexus peeps in the house. So for my Plexus peeps, I'm telling you, the before and after is always big. But another thing, so Plexus is a network marketing company. They sell supplements, and it's a great company. I love this company, great compensation plan. And one of the things, one of the objections you have is, does it really work? And I think one of the things you have to block, one of the objections you have to block is you have to show them what it's going to take to work. Another objection people have in their heads is, I'm not good at selling, right, in your network marketing business. So how do you block that? By showing them, look, here's how you would do it. I'd raise the objection. Mr. Customer, client, Bill, I said, you know, one of the reasons people don't want to do network marketing is because they honestly believe that they're not good at sales. I raised the objection. And I can understand that. But if I can show you that it's not about selling, it's more about sharing, and a very simple way of doing it would be the following. Would you be open to it? Yeah, show me, Victor. Then I would show them a simple 2-3 step process of how they can share the information without selling. Then you say something like this. Based on what I've shown you, can you now see how you don't have to sell? It's really more about sharing. And they're going to go, yes. And you've locked down that objection. It's that easy. How do you feel about Mary Kay? Well, personally, I've never used it myself, so I don't know. I've never spoken to them to their group. So by the way, they've been around for a long time, so I assume they have to be kick-ass also. So, and Sandra, that is me. Okay, Plexiscal here. By the way, thank you, Plexispeak. Good to see you. All right, so I think we're almost out of time. I got 4 more minutes. What can I tell you in 4 more minutes that's interesting, captivating, and very cool? One is, I told you about the system I'm launching, the learning management system. Sales Mastery Academy. That's going to be the name of my platform. The Sales Mastery Academy. I got 19 or 21 programs. I don't know. I lose count. But anyway, we just added 2 new ones. One was a prospecting system and one was an upselling and cross-selling training series. So if you need to learn how to prospect, especially if you're in B2B, that's a good program for you. And if you need to upsell and cross-sell, because upselling and cross-selling is one of the best and fastest way to grow your revenues. When you look at the studies, I am telling you, upselling, cross-selling to your existing clients is the fastest way to grow your revenues. Okay, Samir's back. Samir, I'm a pharma B2B selling the same product to the same customers for years. What would you suggest to keep the customers loyal? Where to focus more? Rapport, relationship, features, benefits, advantage. Really quick, Samir, if you look at a study done by the folks who wrote the book, The Challenger Sale, look at the book, The Challenger Sale. The company's name is CEB. I think they were just bought out by Forrester. CEB did a study, and basically what they found is that when it comes to loyalty, 54% of why people are loyal to a company was the buying experience. In other words, they want people to help them make buying decisions. They're easy to buy from. Help them navigate the different alternatives. Customers are confused. They need somebody to guide them. What they're looking for is somebody who can help them make better decisions. That is how you create loyalty. It wasn't service, it wasn't price so much, and it wasn't brand. The big kicker, I think it was 54%, it was 50 plus, was the buying experience. So again, it's called The Challenger Sale. The study was done by CEB. Look it up, Samir. I think you'll love it. Sales Mastery Academy Training Series, Grow Revenues. You got it, Gloria. Where can I get your books? I'm going to post the link so you guys can download the books. I don't sell the books online, but I do have PDFs. And I think if you go to, write this down, Sellinger Group, like sellinger.com/free-books should get you there. Let me say it again. Sellinger, and I'll try to type it here. Maybe I can just type it here. Maybe help you guys out. Let me see. No, the other. sellingergroup.com/, I think it's free-books. And hopefully that's the link right there. All right, there it is. And you should be able to download some of those books for free. Okay? Why for free? Because I love you. That's why. All right, it's 7:59. We've done an hour. We still got a few peeps on here. Closing statements is the following. Selling is a great profession. Learning how to block objections is one of the best things you can learn how to do. I am telling you, you will feel the difference when talking to a customer by raising objections that they don't want to raise. And they're going to feel better about you because they're saying, wow, he's not afraid to raise those objections. He's being very honest and transparent, and I dig that. Okay? All right. This is Victor signing off. Remember, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.
Every manager can feel it. The difference between a motivated, value-driven sales team and one that's stuck in a rut. CEOs know the difference too. They can see it clearly in the profit and loss columns. The question is, how do you get your team to this elite level? Is there something extra you can do to break through the remaining resistance and equip them with the right mindset to grow your business? Yes, there is. But you're not going to do it with one of those cheesy inspirational speakers or some self-proclaimed guru. What you need is someone with a real business track record to deliver key insights in a captivating way, to give your team the right tools for selling in today's tough marketplace. Enter Victor Antonio, experienced executive, innovative thinker, compelling speaker. He's ready to deliver the message you need your people to hear. Not with a canned speech, but a customized, dynamic keynote designed to deliver results. Bring Victor Antonio to your next event before the competition does.